Hey guys, what's up? It's Ability here, and I'm bringing you guys sort of a different video than what you're used to on this channel. So I'm currently free to play in Dofus, and I have enough commas to subscribe, but my schedule is so busy with school right now. It's like coming up to exam time. I have a lot of projects and stuff going on. I'm in my second year of college, so there's like a lot of stuff coming out of school right now. So if I were to subscribe, it would just be wasted. So I'm waiting off for subscribing, but I still want to produce content for you guys. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about Dofus Planner, the website. So this is Dofus Planner. It's a website that helps you check what stats you will have with what items, and you can add exotic mages and scrolling and base stats, and even check the predicted damage of your spells and weapons. So it's a pretty good website, and I've been using it after this current update. Especially I've been using it for a while, but after this update where it introduced all the new shields that are available, it got me thinking, okay, well, if this is my current set, I need to find out or figure out a way to use shield and figure out which shield is best with this set. So I analyzed my set and realized that the largest problem here that I can see from my set, it's good res and everything, but it's because of this air carapace that I really feel limited in my Colosseums and everything. Because of this air carapace, I can't use a trophy of my choosing, because if I don't know the element of the enemies or if their agility, and I do know that, I have to wear this carapace, because otherwise my agility resistance is only 30, and I've found that with the current classes you need high resistance, especially as a rogue, because rogues are late game carries. So on turn 2 I'm not going to be doing a lot of damage, but my enemy is going to be doing a lot of damage. So by turn 7 I'm going to be doing a ton of damage, but they're still going to be doing a lot of damage. So in order for me to survive to the late game as a rogue, I need high resistances. That's my theory of why I have a resistance stacked set. My damage and agility are lower compared to other sets, so if I even just swap these out for what most agility characters are wearing, which are Menobelt and Triton Palms, my agility goes up by close to 100, my power goes down by 15, but my damage goes up by over 20. So that's a higher damage set. My res is slightly worse, but yeah, it's a higher damage set. So I could wear that and have more damage, but I decided to go a belt with 10% more resistance and boots that gave air resistance, because it gives me more survivability with less damage. So regarding the new shield update, I was looking at the shields, and what I was really looking for is percent ranged damage increase, so like this, and as well as like spell damage increase, and I did not want to have any minus resistance, because minus resistance just negates any resistances that I have. So I was going through one by one of all the high level shields. So this gives range resistance, takes melee resistance. I don't want negative resistance at all. Minus negative resistance, minus range damage, I don't want that. Minus melee damage. Okay, so this is the first one that doesn't give resistance. 30 power, kind of useful. 20 dodge, kind of useful. 35 crit resistance, kind of useful. Range damage, minus melee damage. So this is a good shield for me, but as an agi rogue, my only spells that do damage are carbine and boomerang daggers, not talking about bombs. So if I get locked by someone, another agi character or anyone, my only source of damage is my dark court shovel. So if I check this, we'll just open Notepad. So this is my damage before the shield, and then whoops, this is my damage after the shield. So as you can see, that's like over 100 damage decrease, like 150 damage decrease. So that's a lot, that's a lot of decrease. So that doesn't really work well with me if I ever get into a close combat situation. So that one is okay, but it still has some pretty bad stats with the minus melee damage, minus range resistance, minus spell damage, 15% melee damage. I'm more spell damage than melee damage, so that's not great for me. 1 range, I don't need a range. 15 MP reduction, that's really good. 10% fire res, that's really good. 15% range damage, that's really good. Minus 9% spell damage, that's not good. So this one I was keeping in mind, and then I was going through, and none of them really fit better than this one I found. So if I use this shield, 1 range, I have 8 range currently. 15 MP reduction, I can use that. 10% fire res, I'm overcapped fire res. 15% range damage, I can use that. 9% spell damage decrease, bad. But if I think about it, all of the spells that I'm using are ranged damage. Carbine, boomerang daggers, bomb lines, all of that is ranged. So if I use a spell and it is ranged, I still get a 6% damage increase because it's both a spell and ranged. So minus 9% spell damage plus 15% range damage, that's still a plus 6% damage increase. So overall, this will increase my damage, and to prove that, let's see my carbine. So this is the carbine preview beforehand, and once I add that shield, it can only be cast range, so I can ignore melee. This is its damage after the fact, so more damage. So this shield does increase my damage overall. So now I'm looking at my res, and I'm overcapped fire res by 2%. 50% is the max. So I look at what gives fire res in my set. This gives 10%, but it's also gives 20% to other stuff. So I kind of want to keep that. It's also my AP mage, my exo, so gonna keep that. No fire res, no fire res. Okay, here's 10%. Here's 10%. Here's 7%, and neither of these give fire. So the only things that give fire resistance are my hat, which I want to keep, my collar, which I do really want to keep because it also gives other res, my ring, which is my MP exo, so I want to keep. So this is the only thing in my set that gives solely fire resistance that I can sort of swap out. So if I drop that, I also want to free up a trophy slot. So if I can find a cape that gives air resistance, I no longer have to wear that carapace. So if I go through here, I already looked through all of these to spare you guys the pain, and this is a cape, the Chemisteris cloak, and it gives range, summons, agility, 10% air, 7% earth. So a pretty good fit for what I'm looking for, because now I have a trophy slot free and still really good res, increased res actually, with slightly less damage. I dropped 30 agility and I dropped 8 damage. I also lost a range, but because of the shield giving a range, I still have 1 range overcap. The maximum range you can have is 6, so if I have 7, I'm still just going to have plus 6. So then that got me thinking, what can I do with that extra range? So the things that give range in my set are my shovel, my ring, my cape, my amulet, my shield, and this ring. Neither of these give range. Oh, sorry, yeah, and my belt. So of all these things, I think dropping the range on my shield would be the most beneficial. So this is something that I didn't cover in my maging guide, but the 9% spell damage negative that you see here, each of those is 15 sync, but because it's negative, this is what I didn't cover. If a negative stat is negative, so like if a stat is negative, the sync value is cut in half. So whereas 9% spell damage is usually 15 sync, because this is negative, I can divide that by 2, and each of those 9% is 7.5 sync. So 7.5 sync per percent spell damage. 1 range, 51 sync, divide that by 7.5, and I can have 6 tries if I drop this range, 6 tries to mage off some of that negative spell damage. So if it went perfectly, I would only have negative 3% spell damage, but of course it's not going to go perfectly, so I can probably get like 3 or 4% maged off if I drop the range. So if I mage, let's say I get lucky and I mage off 4% of that spell damage, that means that I'm at negative 5% spell damage. So for almost all my spells, I still have a 10% damage increase, because that's 15% ranged minus 5% spell. And I don't even need to add that range back on. So there's a big plus. And then that leaves me with this extra trophy slot. So this I can swap out for res if I wanted to. I can swap it out for, if I do this, I have all the chromes that I need. So if I use a chrome, let's say fire and air, and then I use a carapace that is water, I'm at almost 50% of all these reses besides neutral here. And then if I was going up, let's say a flinty dagger's neutral, heavy neutral damage, I can do, where's the 23? So I can do this, and then I can do my neutral carapace, and then that leaves my res is like crazy. So this set is highly customizable with a swappable pet and a swappable trophy slot. So if I don't know what the other person's res is, I can do something like this, where I have 89 MP reduction, because this is bonus MP reduction, this is bonus MP reduction, and this is bonus MP reduction, as well as all the wisdom that I have. So with 89 MP reduction, just to see sort of how that stands up against like current sets, if we just go to like the trending sets that are currently on Dofus Planner, just go down one by one. So MP resistance 44. 44 against 89, you're gonna lose so much MP. Next set, MP resistance 34, you're gonna lose so much MP. 200 pinned out. I'm pretty sure this one is stacked MP resistance. 78. I still have more, so you're still gonna lose MP, just not as much. And then the last one, MP resistance 43. So that is like a huge difference between this set and my last set. So where I have 89 now, my last set, which was just this stuff different. This was a guild shield, this was a carapace, so it doesn't matter. That's 51. So although my res gets better in this new set, my MP reduction gets way better, and my damage is actually better because of this damage increase percent. So this set gives me better res, a more customizable trophy slot and pet, better MP reduction, and more damage. So this is where I'm going with the shield update, and currently I don't have this cape or this shield, and this cape will be easy to get. It's relatively cheap, and I need a 2% air exo to get my 7%, but since I only care about the agi stats on this, so strength and neutral nerf damage can be dropped, that'll be a very easy mage, especially considering it has a range and a summon. So I increase in summons by 1, my res will stay the same, or all my exos will stay the same, and then the shield mage, this is going to be a really unique shield mage because I don't need the range on it, and I want to mage off spell damage, so that's, I don't know, I don't really trust other mages to mage something as unique as this, although some of them may be able to do it. I'm planning on leveling the craft mage myself anyways, so as soon as I hit a high enough level to mage this, so 198, I'll make a video about me dropping the range, trying to mage off the spell damage. And then one thing that I was keeping in mind is if I might give this like 10 AP exo tries, and if one were to land, so AP is 100 sync, and then I drop that AP, I'll have 100 sync available, 9% spell damage, each of those is worth 7.5 sync. So that gives me 13 tries at maging off the 9% spell damage. So just by estimating, if I got lucky doing that, I could probably mage off maybe 6%, 5 or 6% of that spell damage, maybe, hopefully. So I might give it 10 tries at AP, and then I get 13 tries at maging off the 9% spell damage. And if let's say I get super lucky and I can mage off 6% of that, that means that I'm at 15% range damage minus 3% spell damage, missing a range. But because I have 7 range, I don't care whether I'm missing a range. That would be like the perfect shield for me, because it's essentially just % range damage increase, and a 15% range damage affects all my spells: bomb lines, carbine, boomerang daggers, moonhammer, everything. So it's all ranged besides my shovel. My shovel doesn't really change damage that much, so that was carbine damage, but my shovel really doesn't change the damage. I just lose 30 agi and a couple damages from the cape. But yeah, so this really opens up. If I wanted to in the future, I could add something like a cloudy, and then like just to iterate how much more damage that is. So this is current set, this is shield set, this is cloudy set. So if I wanted to, I could do that, but I don't have nearly enough combos to do that yet. So any of these are available. I was thinking about even adding an ochre instead of my shaker, but I also don't have enough combos for that. So I'm focusing on getting this shield and this cape next. As soon as my exam schedule clears up and everything, this is where I'm going towards, and I just wanted to kind of give you guys a look into what I was thinking about this update. Maybe you guys are struggling with what shield you should use. It's pretty hard to figure out since there are so many that give all these different stats and minus stats. My suggestion is find out what you prioritize most. I prioritize damage and resistance the most in my set. This gives both of those. And honestly, I think that if you have a shield that has minus resistance of any sort, ranged or melee, I think you need to have multiple shields, because there are certain matchups where that shield will actually lose you the fight. If I have minus 15% melee resistance, no matter what this shield gives, like, I'm gonna lose a fight against an IOP or an Ekka. I'm just going to lose. It's too much minus res. Minus ranged resistance, you're gonna lose against a Kra or like a Foggernaut or someone, or an Eliotrope. It's just too much minus res. No matter what it gives, it's too much minus res. I think that you need to have multiple shields if you have minus res, and I would really just kind of steer clear of those. I personally really don't like the minus res shields, no matter what the other stats are. So that's why I went for like a -% damage shield. I think those are safer. But yeah, so this is my thinking around the shield update. Hopefully it helps you guys if you're trying to figure out your shield. But this is the set that I plan on getting soon, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace out.